to our first presentations. And of course, David Collard, I'm getting flashbacks of the last session here, Daniel Mackey. But this is wonderful. This is about healing the land, healing the people, and connecting generations to each other. And again, it's exactly what we're here to do, to learn from each other, to join together in this dance, I love that phrase, and see what we can do from there. So please make the beautiful David Collard very welcome.
Kaya Wanju. So we got those ones down pat, eh? Nyoongar, Wardong. So I introduce myself. My name is Wardong. I'm the Black Crow.
Ah.
Okay? So Wardong is Crow. So thank you all for coming. My talk is a little bit about a lot of the stuff that you've already heard, but it's a little bit more structured in regards to the International Year of Language. Okay? And it's quite significant, isn't it? Because we've seen ministers, we've seen guests, we've seen MCs having a go at it, which is fantastic. So for me, it's all about, this is what I'm going to share with you, but it's tied into a program because one of the things about our single Nyoongar is that there's a huge amount of land that's going to be transferred across. With any native title organisation agreement that's been established, the Indigenous Land Use Agreement, there is numerous tracts of land that are handed back, okay? And we need to have land managers on ground as First Nations people. When you look at it, we don't have that land management capacity to take on that role. In a sense, and I'm not talking about the traditional knowledge that we heard already, it's more to do with being competitive within the procurement process, but also being very capable within how we do business in the future. As we've seen in Anne's presentation yesterday in orals, in regards to diversifying our agriculture from broadacre back into, using cultural knowledge to be able to present land in a way that is not only viable, but also it heals the land. One of our old elders came up with this saying, if we heal our land, we heal our people. Isn't that so true? We've seen what happens on the East Coast in regards to Murray-Darling that Phil presented. It is happening everywhere, so it's not just there. And as we've seen in recent debates from the federal government to the state government, Western Australia is also in drought. But we still get neglected across as we say, the border. So heal our land, heal our people is the talk that I'm talking about, but it also goes back to the language. And so the strategy that we started working on is along the lines of connects people to country, and we've heard that quite clearly, haven't we? Carol presented yesterday, which sort of connected people to the Jerramungup and the river, and how getting Dave back from Canada to actually do the anthropological digs and tie it into not only the country but also the evidence. We heard a few other speakers in regards to Wheatbelt talk about we're not going to employ rangers just for rangers' sake. We're going to make sure that we have jobs for them. And then we heard Brother talk about Trees for Change actually doing a lot of stuff in regards to collaborating with Nyoongars to try and, Mr Mylup's here too, Bruce, but Nyoongars actually helping the process by educating those young kids. So it connects people to country, connects people to people. Did you know that? It does. It really does. I mean, those kids, I had one kid that came through in 2 years in a row up in, when we went up to Nyoongar, and this guy's got a little bit of learning problems, but he knew me and I go, I've seen you before. So it's good to see the continuance of young people actually taking up that challenge. And then it connects people to culture. And this is one of the things that I've always found very, very hard to understand is why is it that we don't seem to want to adopt First Nation people? And you saw me wearing my T-shirt. I am one of the fighters for the Uluru Statement, okay? Voice, treaty and truth is what we're arguing for. The statement actually tells you that, but it's very, very clear. Very, very clear. The truth-telling needs to be told. So, one of the things about our journey is that building our capacity means that we have to start somewhere. Now, all over Australia, there's bits and pieces happening right throughout our systems. There'll be NAIDOC Week, there'll be celebrations. School will have, like Heidi comes from Fremantle College, she actually does stuff with Nyoongar girls attached to her program, trying to help them stay in school but also become leaders in the school system. So using their school curriculum but also looking at different ways of teaching those girls to make sure they stay. So the retention rates will remain high. In a little school in Wardong, where we started our project, we're starting to look at trying to change, increase Nyoongar science, and we talked about that just recently with Phil, increase Nyoongar science into lesson plans. So when we start increasing lesson plans, it's not just for Nyoongar kids, it's for Newdians as well. So all kids are starting to learn, you know. And I go and tell Bruce, no, I tell all the kids that come out and I said, you don't think we had scientists, do you? And they go, nah. And I said, well, there was a boomerang flying around before the first rocket, did you know that? And they go, wow, really? Oh yeah. And I said, we were doing chemistry way back before, you know, white fellas learned how to build mud huts. Just by taking a solid and melting it down and making it into a liquid and then all of a sudden setting it back into a solid again. We were doing that. And also the other stuff that we've been able to increase in our cultural knowledge is that we're trying to come from the other end, which is our elders, reconnecting them to their culture, but also the relearning that needs to occur. So teaching them about their, I think their Nyoongar English. And if you were in with Pierre and Sandra yesterday, you would have seen them talking, Professor Len Collard talking about it's English Nyoongar that we speak. So I just want to share with you one of the things that we've actually done, because the pathway, the Nyoongar NRM pathway, it starts with the kids over here, but it's also coming from the other side with the elders. Okay? We call it the intergenerational transfer of, as Phil says, Western science, for the traditional ecological knowledge for a lot of you. So the Western science being the intergenerational transfer has got to go that way, so we can get to that way.
Ballardong ngan damang kaman ko wagay mur panyan dapakar. Kaya ngan dapakar ngan boya. Kaya ngan dapakar damang kamanga wagay mur panyan ngan ta ngan murik ngan cord barami. Ngan cord barami. Kaya mur panyan damang kamanga wagay nyunga mur panyan dapakar mur cord panyan ngan boya. Kaya ngan niya karijin. Nia ngan dwok ngan port karijin ngan boja konya nanagajual kur ngan boja kaya nanagajual kur ngan boja ngan kur jur ngan boja ngan borongin daman gamanga ngan kur ngan jur nanagajual kur ngan kur dapat.
Sorry for cutting off. He goes for a little while as well. That's on Seal as we know him. He's just waiting for a transplant, so we're hoping that he gets very well very quickly and we can have him with us again. So the relearning that we're actually looking at, and this is what we're talking about, is there's been a disconnect. And as I say to all my elders, as I say to all my elders as I'm going through the program, is that we didn't lose our culture. We just walked along like I did with my bag, and I just left it over there. So I left my culture over there, but I can always go back and get it. And that's what we're doing, is we're walking back and getting our cultural bag back up, and we're walking back with it. So that's what we're doing with the relearning process. So the disconnect all of a sudden is reconnecting. So access to country, with all the padlocks and the fences, you know, making sure that, you know, if you go onto farms, etc., and you want to go to a site, you know, that those barriers are up there. So what we're trying to do now is to work in collaboration. So as we're going through, and there's a superstar here, as you probably gather, this guy.
You can say Wheatbelt.
Oh, Wheatbelt pulling.
Huh?
And I might go, oh, bush.
Would you cut mine out? It was in the bag.
So we're talking about him.
I'm not ready.
Yeah, we might both go with him.
Warm with that.
Hey, look here, Farley.
Warm more than that. Get down, you say get down.
But thing is, he mightn't be near to us to actually respond. We're just talking about it.
They talking about it, yeah.
Wheatbelt pulling.
Yeah.
Wheatbelt pulling, looking like that, you know?
So there you go, the third person.
That's third person, like bars are. Because even when you don't know anyone, you know, and they over there said, you can say, yeah, bar.
Yeah. Alright, go over there and come back to us and we'll stand
One here, and
there.
to knock the chores away.
We'll go bar pulling. Tracy, bar pulling. Bar pulling. That's how it works.
Ballardong, you want me?
You are cool.
So as we've seen, what I'm trying to show you is there's different ways with using our language. We do it in songs and singing our songs. We also, and as you probably saw, while with the smoking. But there's also, we do a lot of talking, writing. There's so many Nyoongar books now written in language that, you know, if you're down in Fremantle, there's a lovely little shop near Notre Dame. So pop in and grab some there. And also, and you've seen Dennis do it quite often, dancing. He's a pretty good dancer, so if you want to book him out, you know, just head towards that over there. And we've got a couple of the young fellas that actually help him out, make him look good, eh guys? So here, this is Quairing District High School. This is the one that I've been working with a couple of years. About 2 years ago, we actually got a reconciliation action plan going. I never ever thought because I grew up and went to this school. I used to go to school and every week you'd be in a fight. You nigger this, you coon that. All of that, we call our country redneck country, which is not on everybody because there's some beautiful people out there as well. But I never ever thought I'd see a rap. Now we have one. I never ever thought I would see this either. It's amazing, isn't it? Transformation that's actually gone on just with this little school. Being able to not only overcome the racism that's been I would say, inbred in this little community for quite a long time, since 1905, when I think Wardong was established, but also where we're going to in the future. So it gives hope, doesn't it, that we have a lot of young people that are overcoming those barriers and they're coming forward. And so for us, we put together a Nyoongar NRM plan, looking at trying to build our capacity with our kids, sowing the seed of not only introducing them to Nyoongar science, but also taking to places that they don't even know about. So you saw all the sites that Phil identified and others, welcoming them to actually participate in this sort of stuff, but also educating them. Because at the end of the day, we talk about reconciliation, but what does it really mean? And this is what we talk about when Phil talks about action. So we're also re-educating the education system. We know how that needs to be changed, and we're trying to, in the Wheatbelt, for example, trying to get more education programs put in place that allow our kids, our Nyoongar kids, to come out with some sort of skill set or some sort of education level to be able to service industry. Just recently there was the CEO of the Business Council of Australia actually gave a speech in Canberra, and she said, we've got a big problem because everyone's leaving these regional areas, and you can just imagine with all that water that's been lost in the east, all those towns will be moving as well. So there'll be huge exodus from most of these places. And the only people that'll be there are going to be the Nyoongars by the looks. But we have to make education work for us. The next part of the language is a mechanism that can be used to fast track that. And so there's more stuff that's coming along. And this is something that you might be very keen on looking at.
My name is Wardong. I am 12 years old, and I am a Wadjuk Nyoongar. My ancestors have sung this song for centuries, and it has kept them strong as one. We will sing this song for all of us here today, to keep us safe and strong, like it has done for my ancestors in the past. This is our story. This is Yellow Kinyara, the dance of the Wadjuk Nyoongar.
Wanarega malana, wanarega malana, boyongora waningo, boyongora waningo, wanarega malana, boyongora waningo. Wanarega malana, wanarega malana, boyongora waningo, boyongora waningo, wanarega malana, boyongora waningo, wanarega malana, wanarega malana, boyongora waningo, boyongora waningo, wanarega malana, boyongora waningo, wanarega malana, wanarega malana, boyongora waningo, boyongora waningo, wanarega malana, boyongora waningo.
People of Perth, this is our story. As we gather here, and may our ancestors' energy be with all of us tonight. Call out the spider spirit.
Wanarega malana, wanarega malana, boyongora malana boyongora waningo wanare ka malana boyongora waningo wanare ka malana wanare ka malana boyongora waningo boyongora waningo wanare ka malana boyongora waningo boyongora waningo.
We'll call out the spider spirit. May it make us one.
That's just to show you how we use language in the different formats, okay? That was in Perth a couple of years ago. Do you remember the big iron spiders in Esplanade? Arcadia Brothers, the two brothers came across from, I think they started with, in London a few years ago, and 10 years the anniversary, we went across last year and we did the spider dance again. I was lucky enough to go because Walter, there was one with the big headdress.
Yeah.
You saw him?
Yeah.
I had to take his place because he couldn't make it. But I just want to finish with this one here. This is the family. We just had it just the other day, long weekend. There was 68 of us that gathered and went on the Ballardong Heritage Trail from the Swan River of Perth near Guildford out into the Wheatbelt. So we do this every year. And it's fantastic that you can see the hill that cries Mount Bakewell over the back at York. We're standing on top of Mount Brown. So you can see the connections. And we tell the stories. Because in Mount Bakewell over the other side, you can see the wage footprint right there. Yeah? Thank you.